Hi, I'm Amber, and this is Amber Resilience Co., a space where life isn't always easy, but we figure out how to move through it anyway. And honestly, today I just wanted to talk more personally. Not in a super deep, dramatic way, just honestly. Because I think one of the weirdest parts of living with chronic illnesses, especially something like POTS, is how your life can feel heavy sometimes, while also being kind of absurd at the exact same time, and somehow you learn to live in both. I developed POTS really young, and when you're young, you don't have words for things like nervous system dysfunction or chronic exhaustion. You just know your body feels harder to live in. Like everyone else got dropped into life on smooth pavement, and somehow you're trying to walk uphill all the time. And because people couldn't physically see what was happening inside of me, I started questioning myself too. I thought maybe I was just weak, maybe I wasn't trying hard enough, maybe everyone else was exhausted too and I just couldn't handle it the same way. Meanwhile, my body felt like a phone permanently stuck on low battery mode, no matter how much I rested and never fully charged. But when you grow up like that, especially around trauma and stress, your nervous system starts living like a smoke alarm that never fully turns off, always scanning, always alert, always waiting for the next thing to go wrong. I think my nervous system learned survival before it ever learned safety. And honestly, I don't think I realized how much of my life I spent bracing myself until I got older. Bracing for symptoms, bracing for emotional chaos, bracing for disappointment, bracing for my body to suddenly stop cooperating with me. And eventually, the kind of living becomes normal to you. You become the person who says I'm okay automatically, even when you're exhausted. You become good at functioning while overwhelmed, good at carrying things quietly. And people start seeing you as strong, without realizing strength was never really a choice for you. I think lately, I've been realizing survival isn't the same thing as living, and that's been hard for me. Because when survival becomes normal to you, rest feels unfamiliar too, softness feels unfamiliar, and even happiness can feel unfamiliar sometimes. You get so used to carrying heavy things that you almost don't know who you are without them. And healing isn't linear either. There are still days where my body feels impossible, still days where exhaustion hits harder than I expected, still days where emotionally I feel frustrated with how much chronic illness has changed my life. But I think I'm slowly learning something important. I don't need to become less sensitive to survive this life, and I don't need to harden myself completely. I think real resilience might actually be learning how to stay soft in a world that gave you every reason not to be. And honestly, that's hard. It's hard to keep believing in connection after hurt. It's hard to trust your body after years of struggling inside it. It's hard to keep hoping when you're exhausted, but I'm trying. Maybe that matters more than perfection ever will. I think one of the hardest parts wasn't even the symptoms themselves. It was grieving the version of life I thought I was supposed to have. Because chronic illness changes the way you move through the world. You start calculating energy before everything. You think about recovery time before plans. You learn your limits in ways other people don't really have to think about. And sometimes that's isolating, especially when you're young and everyone around you seems to be able to just go. Meanwhile, you're sitting there like, okay, if I shower and go out today, I may actually need a full recovery period after, which sounds dramatic until you actually live it. But somewhere along the line, I realized if I only focused on everything I lost to this illness, I was going to lose myself too, because chronic illness has a way of shrinking your world if you let it. Slowly takes pieces of normal life, your energy, your routine, sometimes even parts of your identity. When that keeps happening over time, you start grieving quietly, not always in obvious ways either. Sometimes grief looks like watching other people live effortlessly, while everything for you feels calculated. Sometimes it's realizing your body became something you have to manage instead of something you simply get to live in. And I think for a long time, I became so focused on surviving that I forgot I was still allowed to actually live. Not perfectly, not symptom free, but fully. Because even inside difficult seasons, there are still small moments that matter. A conversation that makes you feel understood, a day where your body feels a little lighter, a moment where you laugh without thinking about how exhausted you really are. And those moments may seem small to other people, but when you spent so much time carrying heavy things, they feel enormous. I think that's what I mean when I talk about finding light in hard places. Not pretending things don't hurt, not forcing positivity, just refusing to let difficult moments be the only thing your life becomes. Because there's still so much left of you, outside of pain, outside of symptoms, outside of survival mode. And I think sometimes people living through hard things forget that. We become so focused on making it through the day that we forget we deserve softness too. Rest, connection, joy, peace. even if it arrives in smaller ways now. I think we live in a world that treats people like machines instead of nervous systems. Everything is about productivity, output, performance, and if you're struggling quietly, the world often tells you to push harder. But people are not machines. We're more like glass sometimes. Transparent, sensitive, strong enough to hold a lot, but suddenly one crack spreads too far. And I think living with chronic illness forces you to confront that reality earlier than most people really do. At some point, your body makes you listen, makes you slow down, makes you notice yourself, and honestly, that can feel terrifying at first. Because slowing down is where all the emotions outran start catching up to you. I think what I've learned now is that surviving and living are two completely different things. For a long time, my whole life felt focused on just getting through things. Getting through the symptoms, getting through hard days, getting through emotional weight, getting through life one exhausted step at a time. And when survival becomes your normal, you stop asking yourself what actually makes you feel alive. You just focus on making it to tomorrow. I think I spent years living like someone holding their breath underwater, waiting for the moment life would finally feel easier. But eventually I realized, if all I ever do is survive, I'll miss my own life while I'm still living it. And that realization honestly changed something in me. Because even though chronic illness has taken a lot from me, I don't want it to take my ability to fully experience life too. I don't want it to spend my whole life emotionally standing in the doorway of it, too exhausted or too afraid to actually step inside. And living fully doesn't mean everything suddenly becomes easy. It doesn't mean I wake up symptom free or suddenly stop struggling. I think it's smaller than that. I think living fully is letting yourself feel joy without guilt, rest without shame, connection without constantly expecting it to disappear. It's learning how to notice moments again. The way sunlight feels through a window on a hard day, a conversation that makes you feel understood, laughing so genuine you forgot your exhaustion for a minute. Those moments used to feel small to me. Now they feel like proof that life is still here waiting for me. And honestly, I think healing is less about becoming the person you were before pain, and more about finally allowing yourself to exist beyond it. Not just surviving your life, but actually stepping into it. If there's one thing that has stuck through all this, it's that life doesn't have to look the way you expected it to still be meaningful. The and hard days don't erase good moments. You can struggle and still laugh. You can feel exhausted and still keep going. And maybe healing isn't becoming a different person. Maybe it's learning how to live gently with the version of yourself that's here now. Thank you for being here with me today. Really. I know these conversations can feel personal, a little vulnerable sometimes, so it means a lot that you're here. And wherever today meets you, it doesn't have to be perfect to count, just you trying is enough. I'll talk to you next time.